Hello, everybody. This is Scott with another Saturday service. An interesting poll this morning. I'm not going to get in front of you and shuffle card and dazz you with my lack of skills there. I just wanted to see what was there before I gave a little message today. So we're going to start with the statement I feel. I associate this with the zodiac sign of the crab, the great mother, Cancer, and I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that today. So I want to move with that motion as we move towards that new moon this week. Start to tap into feeling. We're moving towards that dark moon, which is just before the new moon, which is that time to really go within, to really delve the dark, to really understand choices, to seek wisdom, to communicate with ancestors, to, ask the questions, investigate. To place ourselves in the space of how is it that I feel right now. Sometimes we can get a little heady and our thoughts and our ideas of these little arrows of things we'd like to see in the world shoot past the moment of what's happening, and they shoot past and over the events that are happening in our personal and collective lives right now. And honestly, we do need that because we need to see beyond the present while remaining in the present, to still continue, in our path and our goal and our dreams, our life's livelihood and all that sort of stuff. But there's just a lot going on in the world right now. So the message really is when a lot is happening in the world, right? And we don't want to see, when I say meditate, it's always a reminder. Meditation is engagement. Energy work is engagement. These are not ways to go to like whatever be and escape reality. Um, to go up is to know to a higher vibration, to a higher level, or whatever those are, and those are valid and important things, is to return with an energy and an activation, and to decipher the means to activate that energy. So it's not about going up. I always teach this. It's not about going up and getting high and staying in a high space. The point of all the energy work and all these things is not to be high, right? You can do that. That's totally fine. Just recognize that your spiritual practice is to get high, right? Like to do it. We live in the world. We are of the world. We are created from stardust, as is the world. We are the world. Um, try not to sing that song. Um, and and so we belong here, right? The material reality is very much a part of who we are. To go high into the energy work, to go deep to the ancestral and the underworld and all those sorts of things, is to return with wisdom or power or loving support or whatever it is that we need to mint that to our course of action so that we go forward galvanized in a new way. This is what a dark moon is really good for, right? So we come to that new moon this week, and that's going to be in Cancer. So how is it that you feel, right? How is it that you feel? We don't want to be pulled all over the way and everywhere in the tides of our emotions, right? Because that's too far into feeling, right? We do want to acknowledge our feelings. We want to, I've said this several times, we want to weigh that against the logic of our situation and what it is we'd like to accomplish, our means of doing that, and develop the strategy or wisdom mind on how we're going to do that, right? We need those three rays. That's what we call them in Temple of Witchcraft. We need those three rays to sort of bring it all together. So we're looking at those three rays this week, and every card fell out of the deck as I was shuffling it on my desk. So I just sort of went with those cards as I was asking the question. I'm going to start with the wisdom piece first in brief and maybe come back around to that, as part of the process. But it was the Brother Fire. So this is the Knight of Wands, right? So knights are action, right? They're about taking that force, taking that inspiration, going out in the world and doing a thing about it. There are activators, right? In the sense that they're going to make something happen. They're going to go implement it, right? Pages have that energy. In this deck, they're called sisters, but pages have that energy of cultivation, of gathering, of understanding, and coming to the place of understanding being, we're here at this point, right? And that's why they're kind of growth cards. Through learning, when we come to the knights, we see action, we things activated going forward and doing something, so they have that sort of energy to them. With the Knight of Fire, we have that sort of uh, Cancer Leo energy, right? It's like feeling and force that's happening here. Like the card has that kind of blue and gold with the person in between. It's really talking about the force of our feelings and remembering that the wisdom of the emotional body is not trying to control our emotions, but rather learning to ride with them or work with them to speak their language, so to speak, by listening to what it is that we feel, acknowledging what it is, and and through that acknowledgement and through that listening, ask ourselves where we are now that we're heard, right? Like where we are now that we've recognized what it is that we feel very emotionally intense about, but not allowing that to become a beast and right away with us, right? Right away with us, like, rah, we're gonna go do the thing, or like, help me, this, runaway beast. You have to watch that, right? There is a way, there's a wisdom here between what we feel and what we think and what we'd like to see of finding the action that's most appropriate for this time. And that's what the Knight is asking us to do. It's very easy for some of us to be swayed by our emotions. It's very easy for some of us to fall into our logical mind. Just be aware of that. There is a middle ground there. There's a purpose betwixt and between, which may feel uncomfortable, which may feel uncertain. Um, it may feel, it may feel, oftentimes when we find a new way of doing things, it doesn't have all of the same energy that we're used to, and so therefore we define it as like not good because it didn't have all of the oomph, you know, involved in it. Um, we can go down a rabbit hole on that one if we want to talk about relationships and feeling, but ultimately to just sort of watch that self and to ask yourself this question: in what way am I creating wise action between the following statements? I feel and I think. Based on those two things, what do I know? And that's your point of action this week. Your feeling card this week, that is the lovely Two of Cups. In this deck, that is called the Two of Water, and that is called the Sacred Cord. There are two frothing cups overflowing. There's figures in the back with a kind of bird or caduceus figure, and they're intertwined in that infinity, that lemniscate sign of energy of exchange. When we see the Two of Cups normally, this is that connection we make with someone, that kind of loving connection. It's the eyes meeting across the room. It's the recognition of connection that we have. So this can also teach us that we're not alone in what we're feeling, or that when we feel helpless and we do feel isolated from what's happening, or because of what's happening in the world, to find the way in which we can emotionally connect to each other. Two of Cups, this is about connecting to others. This is not just about our own feelings. This is maybe about sharing our feelings, sharing our connections, celebrating our connections, defending our connections, our relationships. What is it that it means? So sort of look to where a feeling, strong feelings arise, maybe, or strong responses arise in relationship to others, right? So when we're looking at that night, being like your feelings are going to come up, remember, sort of balance that to find what it is that you need to do, right? Between the feeling and the thinking, right? It's going to contain a bit which is in your interactions with others or what you see in your relationships with others. So be mindful of that part because that's a strong indicator with the Two of Cups there. Nothing major. It's not the lovers. It's not like giant, but when we see the two cups in this aspect, it can be what we see in media, what we see in our workplace, what we see in our friendships, what we see in all of those multitude of relationships that we have. This can spark little connections and feelings. And if you feel like it, it's no homework assignment, but if you feel like it, you could just sort of see like, oh, and with, this person I felt this, and with this person I felt that, and you could sort of look at, that kind of panoply of feelings and experiences that you have right there and be like, what does this sort of cluster? How does this sort of like constellate into an emotional experience for me? Because I felt majority in a very hopeless, or I felt majority very loving and connected, whatever that is for you. And that might be part of the knowing wisdom that's available to you this week. On the other side of things, in the temple, we call it the yellow ray in the middle. The blue ray is the ray of divine love, and the red ray is the ray of divine wisdom. And they have associations with them. And this week, I feel that association in the red ray. This is the angelic ray. It's a lot to do with our logic mind and seeing the big picture, and really just depending on which level we're really engaging in. It can help us to not be swayed by all of these sorts of things, but can also help us to be very stubborn and not be open to all of these other energies or feelings that may be happening in the world. I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm sneezing. I paused the recording a few times. If you noticed a blip. The Four of Earth is our card, right? So this is like the Four of Pentacles. This is the four coins. This is a very tangible, physical, real world reality kind of thing. It can represent money. It can also represent monetary situations. It can also represent, because it's the four, it can represent our structures of solidity. There's a little bit in this card that says to me the key to the moment is to be a little mindful of the way in which we expend our energies and know when to close the door and turn it off and know when to open it and turn it on. And that's key, right? There's a little door here in this card. Let's see if I can get it to line up. There we go. In the center of it is a keyhole to which the radiant lines are rippling out around it. So the key there in getting really into what it is we need to or getting behind what it is that we're thinking, you tap into that wisdom that's there, is when do we need to shut it off? When do we need to open it up? And sort of understanding what that is. So we're seeing these things, we're having feelings, making connections, we might be focusing on relationships of all sorts this week, and also knowing when is enough, right? When is too much, when is not enough. Because the four of coins in this one, the four of earth, which is called power, can also be opening the door, right? So if the Knight of Wands, right, is seeing things in the relationship realm of their lives and it's bringing up strong feelings, then the key is opening the door to that experience in the way that's most appropriate to you. Mindful with that Four of Earth, that is a power card of how much you expend and how much you give into that or how much you withhold. So think about words like overindulgence and spendthrift, like, or miserly, right? Like, like, what's a middle ground there for you? Where are you at? If I read this for, like, depending on who I was with, I could look at this and I would be like, don't blow your wad of cash, right? Like, don't dip into that savings this week. Watch that. That's because this could look like a flight pattern away and out of things. Um, but to another person who is overworked in a certain place and always there, this could be like, I see a flight pattern. Maybe you should take that. Right? It depends on the person. It depends on the person. Ultimately, remember that action, right? The action item this week where the wisdom arises is in doing something, right? Or in maybe understanding that you're doing too much. To look at where you're expending your emotional energies and what you're connected to, how you're feeling about that, see what that constellation is, and know when to close the door or turn off the screen or turn off the television or know when to open it up. This message could apply at any time to anyone, anywhere. I think it's sort of crucial to name that this week is the summer solstice as I'm recording this, and also that it's going to be that new moon. So we have that dark moon and new moon in Cancer. Great time to manifest something for yourself. New moons, plant a seed for you. Do that for me, for you, right? Plant it for you. And then if you want to plant something for someone else, do that. But just do it for you this coming new moon. I'd like that for you. Seeds of magic, we never know how they will materialize. We have an idea. We shape them in the realm of the moon before we plant them in the earth. By the light of the moon, we cast them up. And this is why it's important that we do it then, whatever phase the moon is in. Because these time and tides are tied to that lunar energy, to that earth energy. and they dance between, they wax and wane, the tides push and pull. And we are the weavers, and we are the web, and we are the pullers of the threads. Like it's just recognize your power, and in these moments when we feel whatever it is that we're feeling, tie a little string to what you'd like to see in the world, connect it to the moon, connect it to the earth, and make it happen. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. This is Scott Smith. You can find me at starandstonellc.com. You can also find me at patreon.com/Scott K. Smith. That's my name, capital S, capital K, capital S. I do, in addition to the free reading I like to discuss every week, I also have a weekly forecast at the lowest level of the Patreon, and additional things like meditations and writing and art and photography and all those sorts of stuff there for you. Um, don't be compelled to subscribe, but thank you if you do, free or otherwise. I will see you soon. I'll have some writing up and reading for you tomorrow.